Did you secure the package?
There were complications.
Marvel's What If is back for its third season, and who'd have thought Darcy Lewis was into furries? Let's get into it. So the series kicks off with this weird Power Rangers Godzilla Marvel mashup. Sure, it was entertaining to watch, but when you actually stop to think about it, the kaiju fighting Power Rangers aspects make zero sense. Well, for the most part. Yeah, sure, people like Iron Man, Falcon, War Machine, Black Widow, basically the majority of your street level heroes, it makes perfect sense for them to have giant mech suits to fight the kaiju Hulk spawns. But heroes like Thor, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, basically your top tier heroes wouldn't need giant mechs to fight. I mean, in the comics, Spider-Man's dealt with kaiju sized enemies alone, just using his powers and intelligence. Basically, what I'm trying to say is surely for some of the heroes, the giant mech suits would nerf them more than help them. Honestly, the power scaling issues in episode 1 should have been a clear indication of what was to come later in the series, but I'll cover that later in the review. First though, can I just say, it's mad how a single 30-minute episode with Agatha Harkness and Kingo from the Eternals can be better than both the Eternals movie and the Agatha series. The action scenes throughout the episode were entertaining, especially when they incorporated the fight into the dance routine, and the dance routine actually makes sense and fits with the story and theme, unlike other films and shows. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Venom 3. Episode 2 is one of the few episodes where they actually got the power scaling right, and it made sense due to Agatha's powers and the type of person that she is. It's the same with episode 6, What If 1872. Kate Bishop was written better in this one episode than she was throughout the entirety of the Hawkeye series. To be honest, the Hawkeye series really annoyed me because he's the only Avenger that doesn't have his own film, and when he finally got his own series, he got overshadowed by the new Hawkeye. And let's be honest people, the Hawkeye series should have been about Budapest.
Just like Budapest all over again!
You and I remember Budapest very differently.
Now, my favourite episode throughout the series has to be episode 3 with Bucky and Red Guardian. It was absolute gold. I weren't really expecting much from the episode, but those two characters together just had me in stitches. The chemistry was spot on, and honestly, I'd watch a whole series or a movie with just those two. They've got that perfect mix of humour and camaraderie, especially with Bucky's sarcasm and Red Guardian's overconfidence. And I liked that it was one of the more grounded stories too. Some of the cosmic power storylines just get a bit ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, in episode 4, we find out that Darcy Lewis has a child with Howard the Duck. I mean, what were they even going for here? She's literally taken being into furries to the next level. The episode overall just didn't sit well with me. Not only was it weird, but it tried too hard to be funny, and a lot of the jokes just didn't land as well as other episodes.
Here we go!
Howard, are you sure you can fly this?
Are you kidding? I'm a duck. I was born to fly. Strap in.
Oh, move over!
And then you find out in the final 2 episodes that it was just a way to shoehorn a character called Birdie, the daughter of Darcy and Howard the Duck, into Captain Carter's team. Now, the final 2 episodes of the series started out strong, but quickly spiralled downhill. Whilst the opening scenes, especially the introduction of the Eminence, were well executed and effectively set the tone, the rest of the narrative felt inconsistent and overpowered. The reintroduction of Infinity Ultron was decent at first, but he was heavily nerfed and then killed almost as quickly as he was introduced. Considering he was once a multiversal threat, effortlessly annihilating Captain Marvel, Thor, and even Thanos across countless multiverses, his defeat felt rushed and unearned. And this was compounded by the glaring power scaling issues that undermined the tension entirely throughout both episodes. Captain Carter's team itself was already absurdly powerful. Storm wielded not only her mutant abilities, but also Mjolnir and the powers of Thor. Kahori has the powers of the Space Stone, literally bending space to her will. Birdie, introduced in episode 4, has cosmic manipulation powers simply because she was born during the Convergence, a rare celestial alignment, making her overpowered for the sake of being overpowered. Hell, even Captain Carter, whilst not as blatantly OP, she has both the Super Soldier Serum and the power of indomitable will, making her a formidable 4 in her own right. Then, in episode 8, every team member was permanently imbued with 5th dimensional Watcher powers. These are beings who, as shown in episode 7, could obliterate Infinity Ultron with a single attack. Suddenly, the team went from being strong to outright invincible, capable of going toe-to-toe with beings of incomprehensible power. At this point, the stakes have all but evaporated. I mean, what happens if an even bigger threat arises next season? Another power-up? It's reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z, where challenges are resolved by scaling powers to increasingly absurd heights, stripping away any semblance of relatability or struggle. This overpowered narrative robbed the story of genuine challenges. Heroes like Spider-Man are beloved for their imperfections and the hardships that they endure. And in these 2 episodes, those essential elements were glaringly absent. The team faced threats of multiversal erasure, yet Peggy Carter, using her indomitable will, single-handedly reversed her own deletion and overpowered 3 fifth-dimensional beings. It wasn't empowering, it was just absurd. There was no real struggle, growth or relatability, just a series of increasingly ridiculous feats. In my opinion, the series wasted time on irrelevant subplots, like the bizarre romance between Darcey and Howard the Duck, instead of focusing on meaningful story arcs. A Marvel Zombies episode to bring Spider-Man onto the team would have been a far better choice. Spider-Man's relatability and grounded nature would have brought that much needed depth to the story. Alternatively, they could have introduced a character like Squirrel Girl, whose powers operate within the realm of self-aware humour. She literally has the power to never lose a fight, so it would have eliminated the need for excessive power-ups altogether.
I think it can be if we just fight anime style!
Huh. With excessively big weapons?
No, by calling out our attacks like this! Rocket kick, now!
And then there's the ending with Doctor Strange, which was outright nonsensical. Somehow, Strange becomes a living universe, capable of stripping the Eminence and the Watchers of the powers. You know, the fifth-dimensional beings who have already been established as nearly omnipotent. It just felt lazy, like the writers painted themselves into a corner with overpowered entities and hastily handed Strange a Deus Ex Machina solution. Then, adding insult to injury, he only intervenes after Captain Carter's unnecessary sacrifice and the team's ludicrous unneeded power boost, making the entire ordeal feel pointless. The final 2 episodes were a mess of bad pacing, excessive power-ups and incoherent plot twists. It abandoned the core elements of what makes heroes compelling: struggle, growth and humanity, and replaced them with hollow spectacles. Whilst it had its moments of intrigue, the lack of genuine stakes and over-reliance on absurd power scaling turned what could have been a strong conclusion into a disappointing letdown to an otherwise decent 3rd season. Until next time peeps, stay frosty.